Hey, Real Nerds. There's many ways to enjoy the Real Nerds podcast. You can listen to us on Stitcher, iTunes, and now Spotify and iHeartRadio. You can see what we're up to around town by following us at Real Nerds on Instagram. And if you want to send us your thoughts, you can email us at realnerds@gmail.com or call us at 720-6nerds5. Like us on Facebook at Real Nerds Podcast or tweet us at Real Nerds. And now on with the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Men. Listen, I have my own podcast. I have my own podcast studio. I don't really care about those. What I really care about is the Real Nerds podcast, the best podcast in the universe, in the multiverse, on all Earths, 616 and beyond. Listen to it. Subscribe right now, and listen to this episode. Listen to all the episodes, but especially listen to the one that I'm on. It might be the best. Thank you, guys.
This is Real Nerds Podcast, and for over 10 years, we have seen a new movie and podcasted our experience to the world. And this next part's going to be hard, guys. Volume 10 is coming to a close, and so is Real Nerds Podcast.
We're in the end game now.
It's been
In its
a wild ride.
form.
Oh, hey.
So after 10 years of doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over again times 500 and something, I about 6 months ago, I was talking to Brad about freshening up our podcast, streamlining it, and also making it have more of a unique voice. And after 10 years of people constantly hounding us about, hey, why do you guys take so long to get to the featured movie? I decided I was finally going to listen after 10 years and 500 and some episodes. And so starting, not next week is Film Explosion 2021. Send us your favorite films of the year. But the one after that, which is going to be, I believe, Scream, we are going to unveil our new format.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I wanted to give everybody kind of their own voice. And as I was shooting ideas back forth with Brad, we came up with an idea of, because how everybody for a little bit had their own article on our website. You know, Zach, you did your Clint Eastwood thing.
Yep,
Corinne
has Wells. Yeah.
Catching the classics. I do a Scream Factory thing. Basically, I'm taking the shackles off. And so our new format is going to be
Real Nerds Unchained.
Yes. The first thing we're going to do is review the movie of the week and dive into an analysis of that. Then we'll unveil the big news story of the week. So like this week, it would be, Morbius being moved again. And then after that, everybody is going to pre-record whatever they choose or not. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to see if we put maybe a 10-minute time limit on them, kind of give everybody their own chance to shine and talk about stuff. So we're not going anywhere. I'm just freshening up the experience.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. But this does mark the end of an era for Real Nerds in several respects, because we don't necessarily have the same crew that was started out with as of now. So as a result, like when we shift into this new format, it will not be with the original cast members, essentially, or at least not all of them.
Yeah, that Brad, you can jump in if you want, make sure I'm not speaking for you. But I that's what I thought about too, is maybe also getting other people involved again. Not that, I mean, I love every time I'm on the show with, you and Brad, but it was the way that, maybe James wants to contribute, but he doesn't have time to sit through an hour and a half podcast.
Yeah.
Same with Henry. I mean, really anybody. I don't care who wants to contribute.
The ghost of Jack Benny?
If he wants.
Okay.
I'll make sure he brings his violin.
I have to get my Ouija board out, my dumb
I ain't
Ouija
afraid of no ghosts.
Yeah.
Well. I have a question for us all, since this does mark the end of an era for the
No
format
questions
as it
next.
existed. Wow. You unsentimental bastard, you.
How dare you question Ryan?
I'm not questioning Ryan. I love this new idea, but do we have any favorite moments from the old format? I know my favorite, but I would love to know if you guys have one.
I mean, that's
520 episodes. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a broad ask. I mean, it's hard because, I always, I just love seeing movies and talking about it with my friends. So it gives me an excuse to stay connected with my friends, because my job sometimes doesn't allow me to do that, because I have work. Like today I worked 13 hours, and so it's kind of nice to get away. It's my escape. So that's the thing. I mean, I always remember, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to do it as long as I have people that will do it with me. I'll always do Real Nerds. I don't think it's a burden. I think it's a fun thing I do every week.
Right. Okay. And Brad, do you have any favorite moments?
My favorite moment was every time in between the show when we weren't doing it. When I wasn't editing it. Those moments, those were the best.
I've got two that will always stick out in my mind. First of all, one that I'm not involved in. I would call this the quadrilogy of Hunger Games reviews that you guys did on the show, where Ryan is the sole defender of the series and Brad and James are just digging
assholes. I get it.
But I love how it culminated. It's kind of like the fourth one is kind of like the end game of this whole situation, because in the middle of it, Brad, when everything started getting super heated, Brad put underneath the Star Trek battle music from the original series when they're going through Ponfar. But the other one, I'll never forget it. It's in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 episode. I had talked about watching a Rick Burns documentary on Coney Island, and there was a story in that documentary about trying to kill an elephant, and they tried to hang it. And James went on a tangent for a good, I want to say 2 minutes of listing other ways to kill an elephant, which is like, it's one of the funniest things I have ever been witness to in person in a room. Like, no joke. I will re-listen to that episode just to go to that portion. And he had a line, because I asked him, why are we trying to figure out a way to kill an elephant? And he went, I don't know, the poachers of the world can do it. Why can't we? So
wait. I got a new favorite moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we reviewed my own movie on the episode as a weekly feature thing.
Aww.
And only Ryan showed up for it, and he still paired it with a major movie. So thanks, guys.
That's because I love you, Brad.
I know. I can always count on you.
You fucking know it.
Thank you for being a friend.
Before we start, Zach, did you say Malia was there?
She is, yeah. But
Yeah.
she's hanging out. She's taking a nap.
Oh, I was gonna berate you for showing her Arsenic and Old Lace as our first Cary Grant film.
We'll get into that discussion. Don't you worry. Because I realized that was technically not the right decision.
Anyways, we talk about movies we've been watching, movie news, movies that are coming out on Blu-ray, movies. Step right up and see your movies.
Did we say which one we're doing this week?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you. Nightmare Alley is our film of the week. Stay tuned till the end of the episode for the last time at the end of the episode, where we will recommend the film or not, play the trailer, and then review the movie.
Yes, we will review Guillermo del Toro's latest adventure where, spoiler alerts, guys, the humans are the real monsters.
Yes.
You ever realize you could kind of define almost every Guillermo del Toro movie that way, going like the humans are the monsters, but this time it's a superhero movie, or the humans are the real monsters, but this time it's Creature from the Black Lagoon. And this one, I've been going like, guys, the humans are the real monsters, but a carnival. It's great though. We love Guillermo here.
Hey, let's unspool some real news.
It's real news. Well, Ryan already kind of alluded to it, but we'll go ahead and talk about it anyway. Sony and Marvel have confirmed that Morbius has shifted from January 28th to April 1st as its release date. There's something must have alerted the studio to the possibility of the movie-going momentum slowing down over the next few weeks. So they decided to push Morbius to April, according to Cinema Blend.
So I'm going to chime in real quick, which is really stupid because wouldn't you want to keep the momentum going from Spider-Man? Am I the only one who thinks them doing this is really stupid?
Normally I might push back on that, but I agree, especially since there are frequent ads for Morbius attached to Spider-Man. At least there were at my screening. So like, I would imagine you'd want to capitalize off of that because the likelihood of people wanting to go in droves to Morbius is not necessarily guaranteed.
Yeah. And my favorite part about Morbius being delayed, this is, I think, the 6th time, if I remember correctly. And they shot Spider-Man No Way Home, edited it, and released it since Morbius was delayed the first time. I'm just saying.
I have a feeling, Ryan, that movie is not very good. And they are...
I would be shocked if it was.
I think this is a New Mutant situation we're dealing with here all over again. But they also have Uncharted coming out in February, so it's not like they're going to be like struggling for money. Like I'm sure Uncharted will make some money.
I mean, I'm guaranteeing it's because I think Scream is tracking better than people thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Scream. It's a good franchise. Morbius hasn't established itself yet.
I'm just disappointed that for Scream they didn't put a 5 for the S. So now it's just confusing that it's Scream and it's the 5th one.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Ryan, wouldn't it be cool if they could just call it Scream 5?
Or like, I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah.
Like Halloween 2018, I get that. I kind of get that. This one, though, just call it Scream 5. Yeah, just call it Scream 5. Just call it Scream 5.
Brad, you're a graphic designer. Why don't they just put a 5 for the S? That's a long-running joke. It's like Fantastic Four, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving on to some other news. This is something that's been tracking in our news in the last couple of episodes since the middle of the year. Public domain issues and specifically studios holding on to character exclusivity. Well, guess what? A cuddly, tuddly, all stuffed with fluff little bear is finally going back into the public domain. Winnie the Pooh is past its date to move into the public domain, and that means Disney is in potential to lose their exclusivity on the character. I doubt they will lose that exclusivity at all.
There's a caveat to that. It's the A.A. Milne version.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this version.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not the Disney version of him wearing a red shirt and always wanting honey.
So get ready for a ton of Winnie the Pooh stuff added to our marketing.
Yeah, we totally should.
The wonderful thing about Real Nerds is Real Nerds are wonderful things.
Check out our sweet new yellow and red logo.
It's just Ryan in a Pooh Bear shirt.
Dude, we should so get a Winnie the Pooh and put a Real Nerd shirt on him. Make him like merch.
Little caption. Oh, bother.
Yeah.
What did you think of Morbius? What did you think of Morbius, Winnie the Pooh? I don't know, but I had a rumbly in my tumbly afterward.
I hate this fucking show.
No, Pooh Bear doesn't say the word fuck. Pooh Bear just wants to eat honey peacefully in the woods, Brad.
I haven't heard from Pooh in 5 days. Has anybody seen him?
No, don't do that, Ryan. Don't you dare.
I'm just gonna write fuck on his red shirt on all of them.
Do it.
Jesus Christ.
Give me a teardrop tattoo.
Just say, fuck
You know
copyrights.
You know what I love? That the last traditional episode of Real Nerds Podcast has decided to throw all of things out the window. Decorum.
I'm gonna drop Winnie the Pooh putting Paddington in a chokehold.
That would I would pay to see. I would pay to see that. I remember being at constant odds with Henry in the Battle of the British Bears. So, but yeah, no. USA Today was reporting today that most Disney characters are trademarked under something called the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. But Milne's original stories aren't. Disney can still sue people for using their unique version of Pooh or other characters from Disney canon that Milne did not create. So pretty much just Gopher or the Huffalump in the Winnie the Pooh movie that came out in 2011. The Winnie the Pooh franchise, whose last official theatrical release was 2018's live-action Christopher Robin, reportedly earned $80 billion to date. Wait, no, that can't be right. 80 million's got to be that. That's got to be a typo there. That'd be great if Christopher Robin was the best movie of all time, because it is one of the best movies of all time.
Maybe they meant the entire franchise.
That's true. That could be it. I don't know. Anywho, bottom line is that this is another in a line of characters that could easily go the way of the dodo from the companies that are most known for keeping them afloat. I have to imagine that Disney's going to fight that in court if somebody tries to make a claim on that from the estate.
Well, I mean, I'm for their version for sure. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think they give two flying poos about the old shit stories.
Two flying poos. Oh, Ryan, I love that. That was great. Do that more often. All right, guys, do we want an update on family? We ready? We ready for the shocker of all shockers? Dwayne Johnson's not coming back.
I know. I love
Family,
his response.
no more.
He's like, dude, fuck Vin Diesel. And fuck him for using Paul Walker and his daughter in the post. I'm not coming back. What an asshole.
He said, I told Diesel directly I would not be returning to the franchise. I was firm yet cordial with my words, and I said that I would always be supportive of the cast and always root for the franchise to be successful. But there was no chance I would return. Vince's recent public post was an example of his manipulation. I didn't like that he brought up his children in the post, as well as Paul Walker's death. Leave them out of it. We had spoken months ago about this and came to a clear understanding. Johnson clarified that he bears no ill will. He said, my goal all along was to end my amazing journey with this incredible franchise with gratitude and grace. It's unfortunate that this public dialogue has muddied the waters. Regardless, I'm confident that the Fast universe and its ability to constantly deliver for the audience. I truly wish my former co-stars and crew members the best of luck and success in the next chapter. And in response, Vin Diesel said, you don't need The Rock when you've got family. And that's all he said. I don't know. I mean, I don't even think people are going to that franchise for The Rock. I think they're going to watch what insane shit's going to happen next, because they literally build their bread and butter on that recently. So I don't know. Does this even matter to anybody here? It certainly doesn't to me. I just feel like I want to update on it. Yeah. Anyway, look for Dwayne Johnson in any other franchise but that one. And then I'm bringing up this piece of news because I think it's awesome. Keanu Reeves is currently in talks to star in Devil in the White City from Martin Scorsese, which is the Hulu adaptation that will be coming out within the works. Nope. I'm sorry. You don't want to see Keanu Reeves being directed by an amazing director?
No.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? For anybody who doesn't know, The Devil in the White City is a book that deals around the affair that is integral to American society, but specifically also the first serial killer in America, H.H. Holmes, who had a murder castle in Chicago. And this is looking to be a limited series, so it won't be a movie; it will be a limited series. But Scorsese originally had this in the works as a film with Leonardo DiCaprio, but that version did not materialize. So look out for The Devil in the White City, possibly with Keanu Reeves. And the last book. Yeah. Don't you want to see that as a series by Martin Scorsese?
Sure.
Come on, Ryan. I know you want it. I know you. I know. I know he puts his foot in his mouth, but I know you want it. And then the last piece of news, we had 2 deaths in the movie world this week. First of all, Janine Roose passed away at the age of 84. She was only in one film, but what a film. She was young Violet Bickman in It's a Wonderful Life. Additionally, Janine Roose was a radio actress as a child, appearing on such programs as The Jack Benny Program and the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, where she played little Alice Harris, Phil's and Alice's daughter, played the fictionalized version of that. She basically kind of moved away from acting after her childhood and went on to UCLA to become a psychologist and a Jungian analyst. And I only really bring this death up apart from the Wonderful Life bit is like I had the privilege of being able to speak to her last year at the BennyCon, and she gave some wonderful insight as to how it was to work in radio. So she gave some wonderful gifts to people later on, talking about her experiences on the work that she did in radio and television. And I mean, if you're going to only have one film credit to your name, what better movie than It's a Wonderful Life? Like, she grows up to be Gloria Graham.
That's right.
Who doesn't want to grow up to be Gloria Graham? But I think the last piece of news is the biggest piece of news. The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen. Betty White has finally left this realm at the age of 99. Best known for the several television series she was a part of, not the least of which being The Golden Girls, where she played Rose. Also she didn't really start getting into films till later in the 90s, but she was in a couple of films in the 50s and 60s, Ryan. But I know she was also a bigger staple on television even before that. My knowledge on her beyond Golden Girls is not that robust. Does anybody here?
You should watch the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It's one of the greatest shows ever.
Mm-hmm. That's
fucking
right.
Adore that show.
Yep. And also in films such as The Proposal, You Again. I just loved, actually she was in our show that I liked called Hot in Cleveland. I really enjoyed Hot in Cleveland. And she has a great little romance with Carl Reiner on that show where they talk about, she complains that he hasn't any desire to go downtown. And then later in the episode, Carl Reiner comes in and goes like, all right, I'm willing to try going downtown to that restaurant you wanted to go to. Because see, it's more about an old man not wanting to go to a big scary city. It's
okay.
I
thought you meant going down on it.
You make fun of Carl Reiner. I won't have it on this show.
I will never make fun of Carl Reiner.
Damn right. He directed Oh God, Ryan.
He did.
Do you know why I'm so angry about that Shout Factory release? It doesn't say Carl Reiner's Oh God on the disc. Anyway, that is news.
Movies are coming out on Blu-ray, and you might want to pick some up. We'll tell you about them right now.
DVD releases and Blu-rays.
It's kind of a light week this week. Sorry to say. We've got Alfred Hitchcock's Rich and Strange from 1931 coming to you courtesy of Kino Lorber. This is along the lines in the series of ones that they're releasing individually. Among the new releases is 2021's Antlers, Guillermo del Toro produced film directed by Scott Cooper of Black Mass fame.
I want to see that movie, but the Blu-ray is like $30 on Amazon.
Well, do you know who it's owned by, right?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it's really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. But
it will be part of the Disney Movie Club soon.
You know what? If they're not going to put Nightmare Alley on Disney Plus, then I might as well just cancel my Disney Plus subscription. Be proud of everything you put out. Don't just shuffle it off to the side. A movie called Black Friday from 2021 is coming, featuring Bruce Campbell. Ryan, are you picking this up?
Maybe. I kept on meaning to stream it, and I kept on forgetting about it. I heard it's okay.
Is this on Shudder or something like that?
I don't think I didn't get it on Prime for like $3.
Okay. Next, we've got some Kino Lorber releases. All My Sons, featuring Edward G. Robinson and Burt Lancaster. You can get China from 1943, featuring Loretta Young and Alan Ladd. You can get Shake Hands with the Devil, featuring James Cagney, Don Murray, and Dana Winter, and Glynis Johns. That's right. Glynis Johns from Mary Poppins was in a James Cagney movie, and you can watch it. You can also watch Ray Milland and Marlene Dietrich in Golden Earrings, a Mitch Leisen production from 1957. And you can get The Crime of the Century, featuring Gene Herschel, Dr. Christian himself. That's right. You can watch him in a pre-code era motion picture. And featuring Francis D. And we're getting a movie called The Djinn from 2021 coming to you on Blu-ray. I have not seen this one, Ryan. What's this?
No, I don't know either. I think it's a Shudder movie.
Okie dokie. Right on. Well, you can pick that up if you would like. And then Cohen Media Group is putting out Only the Animals, a movie from 2019. It looks to be French. So yeah, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. We'll see. And you can also get a movie called Together from 2021 featuring James McAvoy and Sharon Horgan. And there's also a re-release of Freedom Riders from 2007 featuring Hilary Swank. So yeah, that's Blu-rays. Next week is way cooler, I promise. And there's a steelbook that I will be picking up because holy fucking shit is it cool. You know what I'm talking about, Frost.
You know it.
Yeah. Dune. That sand dune looks amazing. No. Of course it's Halloween Kills.
We watch films throughout the week in a segment I call What We've Been Watching.
So, yeah, this is the stuff we've been watching.
Is that what you call it? After all these years, Frost, can't you just say that's not what you call this segment?
No, because it's a joke that I long ran. I've ever told you this joke?
I don't think you've.
It's a callback to Tales from the Crypt, where the Crypt Keeper always says in a segment I like to call.
Yeah, that's never mind. Yeah,
so
okay, that makes.
It's my stupid joke.
You know what? No, don't denigrate yourself. You earned that clap, and I want you to keep clapping.
Thank you, Brad. What'd you watch this week?
A lot of stuff. First, I watched The Tender Bar, which is an adaptation of a memoir starring Ben Affleck.
Is he as good in that as he is in Phantoms?
Totally.
He was the bomb in Phantoms, so he better be the bomb in this.
It's directed by George Clooney, and
hell yeah,
it's about like an average life. The most interesting thing about it is that the kid that the memoir is about, his dad was a radio DJ in the 70s and 80s in New York, and they never name him by name, but he basically abandoned the kid. And the kid went through his life, not being prone to sports. He's more of a bookworm. And so his dream in life is to become a writer. And his uncle, played by Ben Affleck, is really encouraging of that. And so the movie just goes on, this memoir. And then eventually he realizes he has to reconnect with his dad in adulthood to, deal with his demons. And I don't know, it just wasn't that shocking or interesting of a story to me. It feels like it's a lot of people's story. And he has a hang up of like this girl he meets in college. He gets into, I think, Yale or Harvard.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. And he meets this girl and he's like just obsessed with her the whole time. But she's, involved with someone else, and she's just seeing him on the side, and he never seems to get it through his head that, she's not really into him. So, yeah, it's all right. Ben Affleck's great in it, and he has a loving family around him the rest of the time. So, like the most controversial thing is his piece of shit radio DJ dad.
Huh.
Yeah, that he
Right on.
eventually sees at the end and
Sounds Oscar baity.
calls the police on. Yep.
Oh, I'm down for it. I'm down for a George Clooney movie starring Ben Affleck.
Then I watched Don't Look Up, which is fun, I guess. Just kind of a hard watch because it's like Idiocracy, where you're just like, yep, that's probably how this would shake out. Don't Look Up is the Adam McKay End of the World movie with DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was it's amusing, but I didn't score it higher just because I felt bad watching it. Being like, yep, this is pretty much how I imagine society at this point would react.
Hmm.
Then I watched a documentary called The Last Blockbuster.
Yeah, that one's not that good.
Yeah, it just feels padded.
I agree. I was hoping it explored more into, the renting culture and stuff. And it was more about that lady and her family.
Yeah, that lady and her family, and it feels like a bunch of, popular comedians are just like, hey, we got this person in there, so
yeah,
we're gonna add them to it.
Feel too when you were watching it that it was one of those documentaries where they were being fed stuff, and they'd say, "You remember Blockbuster?" And then it'd cut to like Dana Gould and say, "Oh man, I used to go to Blockbuster."
Yeah, or they'd set up a really easily answered question, but they'd make you wait like half an hour to answer it.
Yeah.
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 Not great.
Yeah, I agree.
But still cool to revisit Blockbuster.
No, I agree. It's one of those things where you kind of dig it for what it is, but at the same time you go, okay, this could be more revealing and interesting.
Totally. And then I watched Mitchells and Machines.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, which it's animation's amazing. Probably a little bit too sentimental for me at times. Like it really hammers home like the family thing.
Yeah, who cares about families and caring and shit?
Yeah,
I do. Family.
We don't have enough movies about that. Then I watched
Makes the most money, Brad.
Then I watched Bad Trip, which is basically like a road movie in the style of Bad Grandpa, and it's really funny.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in theaters like right before the pandemic, but then they just threw it on Netflix. And Eric Andre is the star. Lil Rel Howery, I think is his name, is his buddy. It's a one of those like do gags in front of real people movies, but they put a narrative to it. And so Eric Andre, he's between jobs, and then he this high school crush meets up with him, and he's like, hey, we should hang out sometime. And she lives in New York, so she goes back to New York to art gallery, and then he gets in his head that like she likes him, so he has to like go on this road trip to go see her art show. And he convinces his buddy to steal his sister's really bright pink car because she's in prison, and they go up there, but she's out of prison, and so she chases them down the whole time, and they just do all these in-person gags for the movie, like to freak people out. At one point they're running through a golf course with their dicks in a Chinese finger trap together. They go to the art show, they destroy it, and there's just regular people who aren't in on the joke. They're freaked out by all the destruction happening. It was pretty funny.
It's on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yep.
Yes, we have to check it out.
Yeah, at one point before he goes on the trip, he works in like a Jamba Juice shop. And he helps the girl he has a crush on like cut in line and get served first. And when she leaves, he's like distracted. He like sticks his hand in the blender, and it blends his hand in front of all these people. Just shooting blood all over the store. Good stuff. Then I watched Kate, which is the Mary Elizabeth Winstead kind of John Wick / Crank movie, where she plays an assassin who gets poisoned, and she tries to track down her killers before she dies. And then she has a kid sidekick who works for the Yakuza, or she doesn't work, but she's like a kid of someone who works at the Yakuza. And so they kind of bounce off each other. And the action's actually really cool. Woody Harrelson is her handler. And it kind of goes where I thought it would, but the action is pretty badass. So you gotta check that out. That's pretty sweet. Then the last thing I watched was the America, the motion picture, which is about the founding of America.
I forgot I saw that.
Oh,
a while ago. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's pretty fun. It's like a super patriots, like messed up vision of how America would have been founded. So like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington are best buds, and Benedict Arnold kills Abraham Lincoln and disrupts the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So George Washington has to form an Avengers style team to track him down and kill him and get the Declaration signed. And it's like it throws in every amazing anachronism you can think of.
It's definitely a crazy movie.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
think it's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's stupid, but it's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, the Channing Tatum plays George Washington. Will Forte's Abraham Lincoln. Jason Mantzoukas is Sam Adams. Yeah. He's like a college bro. Paul Revere turns into RoboCop after his horse gets mutilated. So he becomes the one with the horse. Yeah. It's crazy, but it's fun. It's like a 10-minute gag that's stretched out across an hour and a half, and
for sure.
Yeah. Thomas Edison is a Asian woman and basically has Iron Man powers. Yeah.
Yep. There's lots of cussing and it's really violent.
Yeah. Andy Samberg is Benedict Arnold. Yeah. And Simon Pegg is King George.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
And
then TV wise, Cobra Kai season 4 dropped, and I've watched it twice already.
Nice.
And that's good. Yeah, it's great. I can't believe it's still solid this far in. It's only getting better. Just it draws heavily from Karate Kid Part 3. They bring back Terry Silver. I was interested to see how they would modernize him. And basically, they start off the season by explaining away that he's so crazy in 3 because he was just on cocaine the whole time. And you're like, okay, cool. He's kind of rehabilitated. And as the season slowly goes on, he starts falling back into his old ways, and it's great. Nice. And then the way they modernize it with like the kids kind of have their own storyline in the show. It's not just about revisiting Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso. They all have great story arcs and stuff that are going on. And then the season ender is a 2-parter that's just the All Valley tournament. And it's amazing that these kid actors are doing like martial arts at this level. It's great. So I don't know if they're on wires or anything, but yeah, they have some amazing stunt work in that. So definitely check out season 4. And God, I gotta wait a whole year for season 5. Such a long way off. Because it's definitely not over at the end of this. It's definitely a cliffhanger. So
I think they already started filming season 5. I think I saw something about that.
Yeah, they've been working on it simultaneously, but they're not going to release it till the end of the year. But as I was watching this, I was kind of thinking like, man, it is season 4, and they kind of started these kids in freshman year of high school. So unless they're going to start doing seasons about them in college, like they're either going to get new kids or it's just going to end. So season 5 might be the last.
Interesting.
I think that's it for me.
Zach?
I didn't watch a lot this week. I was prepping for a ballyhoo on Arsenic and Old Lace, and I decided, you know what? Now's a good time to show Arsenic and Old Lace to my girlfriend. And so I showed, this was her first Cary Grant movie. And I did apologize about this, Ryan, when I texted you, because I'm like, this probably wasn't the smartest Cary Grant choice, but she enjoyed the movie quite a bit. And I've talked about Arsenic and Old Lace on this show before, so I won't rehash everything. Researching Arsenic and Old Lace was a lot of fun, though, because there's not like, I really wish there was like a little behind the scenes featurette on that DVD for that movie. I think it deserves it.
I agree.
But I think that digging up the best material that I found for researching that, Ryan, was from Five Came Back, that Mark Harris book, because Capra made that movie as an insurance policy for his family so that they could be financially secure while he took an army salary during the war to make Why We Fight. So he would only make like about $4,000 a year with the army. And he took the $125,000 director's fee, and he was supposed to get percentage on the profits of Arsenic and Old Lace as the insurance policy for his family. But that film was put on the shelf for 3 years because the Broadway producers made them sign a commitment saying that we won't let you release this movie until after our Broadway run is done. And it didn't end its run until 1944.
Yep.
So it's insane to think that like Capra took this massive gambit, which he ends up doing that same gambit for It's a Wonderful Life, which is also not really a big financial success. But in the Capra spirit, I actually wanted to watch the movie that he made prior to Arsenic and Old Lace to kind of give myself a little bit of perspective on where he was at that time. And so I watched for the first time Meet John Doe with Gary Cooper and our lovely queen, Barbara Stanwyck. Meet John Doe is very admirable, but a little messy. Have you ever seen it, Ryan?
I have not.
It's actually one of those ones that you're not going to find a Blu-ray of because nobody's bothered to pick this thing up. It's kind of like public domain ready. But I found a pretty good copy on Amazon. And the story concerns Barbara Stanwyck as a journalist who is about to be kicked out of her paper because a bigger billionaire has taken over the paper and is reshaping it and basically cutting positions. And she writes an angry fake letter to the editor, signed by a man named John Doe, talking about all the ills in the world and all the ill cooperation and nobody getting along, and that he's so distraught that nothing will change, that he's going to kill himself on Christmas Eve. And the letter gets published, and it has such a strong response from the public that they now have to find an actual John Doe to fit the role of the letter that was written by Barbara Stanwyck's character. So they interview some people, and they settle on Gary Cooper, who assumes the identity of John Doe and takes on this very broad political cause of just be kind to each other and helping each other out. It's just a basic morals element of it. And the film proceeds to be an issue of whether or not as a figure like John Doe, who's frankly being manipulated from the get-go through Barbara Stanwyck's character, will succumb to the character he's been inhabiting, and also how do the politics of somebody like John Doe, quote unquote, intermingle with a bigger corporate concern or billionaire concern, and in theory, you could make this movie today, and we've seen this movie made in several different ways. I think it's a good movie. I think Gary Cooper's great in it, and I'm not usually a big Gary Cooper fan, but I enjoyed him quite a bit. Stanwyck's great, as she always is. There's never changing any of that. I'd love to talk to you about the ending of the movie, Ryan, after you watch it, but I feel like the ending is such a cop-out because and I read history on why this is the case. Like, they were stuck on this ending so much that they changed it 3 times. So I guess this is the best possible ending you could have had in Golden Age Hollywood. But it's almost like you'd want them to go with the most extreme ending just to make a good movie. Like, I wouldn't even care if I wasn't uplifted by the end. I'm like, that was a good movie. But they don't do it. They don't make the they don't make the plunge. And in a way, I don't blame them. Like, it would have been like one of the most depressing endings I would have ever seen if they had gone through with that, because they basically trap him in a corner. The John Doe character, that like, there's literally only one way that this could end the way it's supposed to logically. But it's a very well shot, well put together. It's a Capra movie. Like, of course it's going to look amazing. But this film has a lot of flaws in it. And then the last thing I watched was The Tragedy of Macbeth, Joel Cohen's solo outing. It's great. It's very fucking great. The very streamlined version of Macbeth that turns into a gangster noir film. That's basically the way it's treated. Very lovely use of minimalist sets that work with expressionism. Denzel is great in this movie. I don't know how the fuck we haven't had him doing Shakespeare all this time, but god damn it, he's great. Corey Hawkins is in it as Macduff, and he's wonderful. McDormand does a really good Lady Macbeth. Stephen Root is in it playing the porter, and he is fucking funny as shit. And it's only 104 minutes, so we're not talking like a Kenneth Branagh epic here. And given that Macbeth is such a weird thing to begin with as it stands, and like my closest association with it is Orson Welles' version from the 40s, this film fits so well in the Coen style, even if you don't have Ethan in there. Like, this was always destined to be a Coen Brothers movie of some kind. So I guess if you are a fan of Shakespeare adaptations that take a chance and find a way to be easily accessible to people, this is like a good example of that. I don't see any reason why nobody could not get on board with this film if you are looking for a Shakespeare adaptation with some teeth to it. It's very audacious. It manages to create a noir film out of a very, very set period piece aesthetic. And I think those descriptions from the get-go of it being a crime thriller were very accurate, because it operates like a crime thriller. So yeah, I would check it out. It is in theaters now if you want to go see it. And I think if you've got Apple TV, you should have access to it by now or next week.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has Apple TV.
I found out my dad has it. I didn't realize he had. Yeah, I didn't realize he had it. I guess he must have gotten it when he got a new phone. So I'm gonna rewatch the movie, and shoot, we'll loan you the access if you want to check this out, Ryan, because this is violent Macbeth. It's not like, balls to the wall, blood all over the place, but it gets when it gets violent, it gets very fucking violent.
Sweet.
Yeah, very good. And also, if you like a good black and white 4:3 movie aesthetic, Ryan, like to make it feel like an old Hollywood movie, this movie does the trick. Like, I felt like I was watching a movie from 1948 in it, but with blood and guts and a decapitated head. So,
hell yeah.
And witches. There's witches, because it's Macbeth. But there's witches, and this witch is creepy as shit. Anyway, that's all I watched this week.
Yeah, I didn't watch too much. I watched a horror film called There's Someone in Your House, which is...
That sounds like the broadest title ever.
I know. It was a James Wan produced film, and I read on some website that it's one of the best horror movies of the year because it's a slasher movie. And you know how I like slasher movies.
No, you don't. You like puppy dog movies.
True. This is not one of the best movies of the year for horror. I thought it was pretty lame. It's one of those ones that tries to be too cute with what it is. Which is a bummer because it opens really cool with a dude getting killed. But I picked out who the killer was immediately. There's some douchebag stoner who keeps on bringing like pot into every scene, and everyone talks about how great pot is, and it's just stupid. The premise of the film is this person is killing these teens at this high school because they all have a secret, and he's gonna kill you and then text everybody your secret. Like, you know what I mean, guys? Like, wouldn't that be the worst thing to happen to you?
Hey, Ryan, did you
texting your secret?
This sounds like how I know what you did last summer, but stupider.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, it's just boring. I mean, the blood and guts are cool, but it takes so long to get there that it's a bummer. Because when I see a slasher film, I expect them to kind of be quick and have lots of not a lot of build up. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't mind a slow moving slasher movie as long as the payoff is good. But when the payoff sucks donkey dick, and I don't care. So yeah, I did not like it.
It's interesting because it comes from the guy who made the Creep movies.
Yeah. And like, I mean, the violence is cool in it. And I think I gave it 1.5 stars because the violence is all right.
Is it better than Separation? Can you at least admit that?
I don't know.
Oh no.
I just hate stupid teenagers in horror movies, unless it's, I mean, I know Friday 13th they're stupid, but at least Jason is a cool antagonist. Like I don't know. I like my slashers strong and like, 6'5" and unbeatable.
You want a slasher monster. That's what you
want.
Yeah.
So it's whatever. If you like slasher films, you can give it a shot. I mean, there is some pretty cool kills in it. But yeah. And the last thing I watched this week is The Last Duel with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and directed by Ridley Scott. And it tells the story of a woman who claims she was raped by a nobleman in France in the 1300s. And I love this movie. I thought it was really well made. I thought the acting was incredible in it. It lives up to its last duel at the end. And afterwards, I did some research, and it's pretty accurate to what happened. They take some drama with how the events unfold between the two men. But what I really liked is it's told in 3 parts, and each part is from a different character's point of view. So the first part is from Matt Damon's, I can't remember their names because they're French names, but from his point of view first, about how he was wronged by Ben Affleck's Pierre. I remember that name. He's basically the man in charge of the land, and he gives all his accolades or his favoritism towards Adam Driver's character. Adam Driver. And so Matt Damon is, jealous and filled with rage. So then they show it from Adam Driver's point of view. And then the last is Jodie Comer, who plays the young woman in it. And no, I just thought it was really well done. I'm a big sucker for historical dramas when they're embellished with war and violence for some reason. Stuff like Braveheart and Gladiator, I love. I mean, it's a really well-made film, and it'll probably show up later next week when we do Filmsplosion 2021.
Mm-hmm.
This week on Real Nerds Podcast, we went to see Nightmare Alley. Zach, do you recommend Nightmare Alley?
I do. I really liked it. As to how I appreciate this film, apart from the 1947 version, is still kind of to be determined, because I didn't have a chance to go back to rewatch Nightmare Alley this week and compare it to the 47 version. But I would say that if you are looking for a straight up adaptation of the book, and if you are looking for Del Toro to have the room to play around for a pretty epic sized adaptation of what's essentially like a noirish novel, I think you're going to be very, very delighted by it. It's a downer movie, so heads up. But I really loved it. I think Bradley Cooper is great. I think Cate Blanchett kills it. I think that Del Toro is really good at working with a solid cast and giving them really fucked up things to do, and I really appreciated it.
Brad, do you recommend Nightmare Alley?
I don't know. It's been like 5 weeks since I saw it.
Oh shit! Really?
Maybe less than that, but
you got an advanced screening of it.
No, I just saw it like the same week it came out, and it actually came out like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So, yeah, I remember being bored. I feel like it started halfway into the movie, which is like an hour and a half. Like it's like two movies, this movie. Um, and the most interesting part was the second half. So there's a ton of setup for it, and I just didn't think, you're following this shitty character. Like gets halfway through and it's just like, I don't care what happens to this guy. So, and it doesn't make me interested in discovering what the original was like. So I was like, it looks great. Like it's fanciful. It's production design's amazing, but story wise, I just don't care what this guy's going through.
Yeah, I recommend it too. I actually like this movie. And it's not one of my favorite movies of the year, but I do think it's an interesting morality tale and about.
Yep.
And you're right. I mean, Bradley Cooper's character is a piece of shit.
And, yeah, it's great.
But I will say that Cate Blanchett is a great femme fatale. And I got big Veronica Lake vibes from her in this movie. Yeah. Here's the trailer for Nightmare Alley, which, by the way, before we start it, I think is its biggest problem. Well, one, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but also I don't think they sold this movie very well. I think that's why it's underperforming. Here's a trailer for Nightmare Alley.
I will ask you simple questions. You will answer in short sentences only what you believe to be absolute truth.
Absolute truth. I can do that.
Now, brief as you can, what is your name?
Stanton Carlisle.
Are you a true medium?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Carlisle.
Doctor, how about that?
Please lay down.
Can you read minds?
Yes, I can. Under the right circumstances.
Keep your answers brief.
What do I want?
To be found out, same as everybody else.
Are you in contact with the beyond?
Well, we've had our share of snake charmers in the past. We deal with them.
You don't fool people, Stan. They fool themselves.
I've given you a fortune. It's time that you delivered.
When does it end? I want to know.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
Before you get to the plot, yeah, I agree. The trailer is very on the nose and doesn't do well to play up into the morality tale in a way that's cohesive. It's ill marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hard movie to market anyways. It's really dark. And I mean,
Yeah,
you got to
great.
sell the aesthetic of it. I mean, I think the aesthetic is really cool, the Art Deco stuff. And I loved Cate Blanchett's office. I thought it was really, really well done. In it, Bradley Cooper is a man on the run, and he eventually finds his way to a carnival where he kind of weasels his way into being part of the act. And he does so with Toni Collette's character and her husband, Xena, and I saw the movie like 3 days ago. I can't remember characters' names.
Pete. It's Pete.
Yeah, Pete.
Pete is a mind reader, but mind reading is a trick that he learns to teach him, or that he teaches Stan.
Yeah, so basically Stan is now conning everybody at the carnival to be liked by them, and then he gets in good with Pete and Xena. Pete is surprised that someone wants to learn his trick. He's also an alcoholic. There we meet Elektra, who is Molly, correct?
Yeah,
And
it's Molly, but
I'm
yeah.
old as fuck. I'm having a hard time remembering shit.
Mary, yeah, I'm sorry.
Played by Rooney Mara. They fall in love. But do they really? I think he's actually kind of using her in this to sell him.
He's a con man through and through, and Del Toro doesn't make any bones about making Stan a piece of shit. Whereas I think that original film does, because of the nature of what it has to do by the very end in the original version, tries to lay sympathy into Stan where it can.
Yeah, and I think that's a product of its time. Hollywood
definitely.
at that time was actually forced to usually have happy endings.
Oh yeah, there was no way that the ending of the original novel would have ever been approved for 1947. Not even close.
So, anyways, he eventually breaks free by killing Pete after he helps Willem Dafoe's Clem in the Freak Show, or Geek Show, or whatever you want to call it, and he purposely gives him the wrong alcohol to drink, and it ends up killing him. He runs away with Molly, and they go to the big city, see? And they con wealthy people into believing his shtick, and it slowly starts to unravel. But yeah, I mean, Brad is right. It is kind of a two-part film, where the first part is him taking advantage of the carny folk, and then the second one is him thinking he's taking advantage of the upper class people.
I think this film really is rightfully so in love with expanding on the carnival in a way that the original film kind of has to condense in certain ways. I don't know if I'm like too bold in saying this, Ryan, but this is some of the best looking carnival footage in a movie since Freaks. Like this
the movie looks fantastic.
Like, but especially with the carnival, like it really, really lays into the reality of the carnival. And in the original version, you have, and I don't want to make this just a comparison to the original, but I wanted to point out that the whole concept of the geek, which is tragic as shit, that in the original, you get a allusion to it, but here, Clem, played by Willem Dafoe, who kind of runs the carnival, he is very unapologetic about the methodology he uses in which to attract people to the position of the geek. And that is incredibly rough to watch. Like, that was one of the most depressing scenes I'd seen in the movie.
Yeah, that, and I mean, he's, they drop their geek off who's dying in front of the Salvation Army. And he's like, "Hey man, I'll get you a steak. Let's get out of here."
Yeah. And
he doesn't care.
He when he goes through the con with him, and he just sounds like so matter of fact about it. Like it's like watching in a con movie when somebody's explaining like how they're going to steal the diamonds, but instead he's just like, "Nah, I'm going to exploit a person's vulnerability to addiction for my own financial purposes." And there's a lot of allusions to the addiction to power in here that are laid into it's so on the nose, and that's what it's playing with. The ideas of violence in this film also struck me huge, because that original film's not that incredibly violent by comparison. The one thing that I really wish this film had done more, and I understand why Del Toro did it, and I loved him for doing it. I do wish that this movie pulled back on its violence a little bit, just a teeny bit, to kind of like do the same methodology that you would have had to do back in that era to kind of pull back on the violence, and just allude to stuff, because there's some brutal fucking violence in this movie. I think specifically to that, Ezra Grindel's face getting kicked in, but also when Mrs. Kimball shoots her husband. It's so fucking matter of fact and brutal and creepy as shit. And I think one of the reasons why I'll probably prefer the original film to this one ultimately is that there is something about the way it was filmed in that era as a noir film that still makes it stick. But Del Toro kind of pulled a True Grit here, kind of like what the Coen brothers did with True Grit, where you do have somebody that's being more faithful to the source material. And so that outshines many elements from the original film for me. Because it's allowed to be a little bit more honest.
Yeah, Brad, you weren't as enamored with it, and you kind of touched on it in the opening. Is there anything you want to add?
Not really. I think I covered it. Like I said, I was uh, pretty bored. And then once it turned into the second half of the movie, I was like, oh my God, like there's another whole movie happening here. Yeah, the carnival stuff was the most interesting to me, but I was just constantly wondering, like, where is this even going? And then I got to the second half of the movie where it really kind of kickstarts into a plot. Yeah, there's just so much setup. But luckily it looks so good that you kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second half is just like, oh, this is a story about this guy just tricking these people and then getting his comeuppance. Great. Haven't seen that before.
Yeah. I really liked how it played out. One, because I love the femme fatale kind of morality tales that, are more on the nose, whether it's Double Indemnity or whatever. It's always the guy who thinks he has it made, and where he's playing everybody and he thinks he's playing Kate Blanchett's, psychiatrist character, where she actually turns the table on him and is able to read him. And when you go back, it's a movie I want to watch again and kind of unpack what she says to him at the beginning in their first session, where she says, you keep on saying that word never. And she basically seduces him to become a drunk, to take his money, to get rid of the guy that horribly scarred her. And that's the ultimate mind trick, is not parlor tricks. It's a woman who is incredibly educated and, basically makes him do her bidding. I liked the second half more too. Willem Dafoe is great in the movie. But I love how it played out towards the end.
Yeah, I'm one of the people who will go and say I appreciate both parts of this because it operates as an epic that circles its way back to the carnival. I get it. They're divided up into two sections very distinctly, because not just because we fade out, but we are treated to different sides of the coin. I thought it was interesting in this one to just kill Grendel. That's certainly a part that I appreciate as it circles in with that second half. And I will go on a limb and say that Kate Blanchett, this might be in my top 5 performances she's ever given, because you're right.
Awesome.
Because you're right, Ryan. She is a great femme fatale. I like her in this more than I like Helen Rocker in the original, and that's saying something. Yeah,
I mean, Kate Blanchett is such an amazing actor, and she. I kind of went off it, but I still got to watch some more of her movies. But I watch her movies, and I just believe everything she does.
Yeah, from the moment I saw her for the first time in The Aviator, I was like, this woman's got.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, Lord of the Rings was the first time I saw her.
Yeah,
but like outside of Galadriel, because that's a different type of role. Like playing Kate Hepburn was like a revelation for me. But
yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah, but like I think that I kind of appreciate ultimately that this film, because this film circles back to the carnival, we have to have this kind of epic rise and fall. It does seem bloated in places, but I really love the rich detail that Del Toro lays into this film. So I'm super appreciative that Fox Searchlight, or Searchlight Pictures now, still put this out when, quite frankly, Disney didn't have to keep this on their roster. They could have just dumped this shit while it was in the middle of production, and they kept to it. And I think we're all the better for it. It's a great Del Toro movie that will find its audience later on.
Well, I don't think you're going to turn down the cast and the people who made it. I think you take that chance every time, personally. Yeah.
But also, especially during a COVID, like during a time when we're still getting over COVID, this movie is a very hard sell overall, because it is a very dark fucking movie too. Like, I walked out of it staggering, because I was just like, Jesus, like the world does suck. It's harsh, and there are assholes everywhere. Like, Oh, and the score is fantastic. Alexandre Desplat's score is fantastic. I love when he works with Del Toro because he gets to have some fun free reign. It's just great.
Cool. Next week is Film Explosion 2021. Make sure you send us your list of your favorite films. We are recording Sunday, January 14th.
One night only at the Pepsi Center.
No. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Real Nerds Podcast. Real Nerds Podcast is a production of Nebulous Visions Multimedia. Thank you to Sparks Mandrill and Plan 9 Studios for our kick-ass theme song. Also, if you're in the Denver area and you're looking for a cool place to see movies, we see them at the Alamo Draft House in Littleton and now also in Sloan's Lake. Thank you to Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics for supplying us with all our comic needs, especially you, Andrew. You know who you are. And a big shout out to James's mom. I'm giving you an electronic hug that you can feel through the airwaves. Thanks for listening, and have a nice day.